Hello, everyone. My name is Aaliyah Solomon, and today we're going to dive deep down here and try to analyze this advertisement. I daydream about traveling around the world, and so I was like, let me choose the airlines segment of the resources so I can pick an ad. And then I came across this image. I mean, look at this image. The signifier image, this image is signifying what exactly? I mean, look at the airplane, right? It would that kind of displays the, all-American hegemony of power and our exercise of power in a country where, first of all, I was born in the Middle East, and the man that is dressed in a jalabiya, the white jalabiya, and the head covering, that is very familiar to me. And it's very interesting how you have the contrast between the camels, and the owner of the camels, standing next to, or across from this military airplane. And it's interesting because this ad it came about in October of 1966, and this was back around the time of the Vietnam War. You had people that were pro let's sell airplanes. For example, in this ad, American Airlines, they're in the business of let's sell airplanes. Now, of course, it doesn't matter how many lives are going to be lost as a result of, these non-ending wars. But, as long as we're gaining or leveraging our financial means, then it's fine. So what you have here is the signifier and the signified. That really starkly drew my attention immediately. You've got the image, and what is it signifying? And I mentioned the contrast. It signifies that this weak man, in his jalabiya, he's walking around. It's a desert with camels. And the article, by the way, mentions that camels go 2.5 miles per hour, and that 88 years before 1966 is when we used to use camels, to transport different things. But now, we are so advanced, enter the airplanes, and we've invented our airplanes, and now we get to use them to let's see, quote, it says, rapidly changing relationships of all nations. This technology. Now, the way it says we're changing relationships of all nations, it makes you want to think that, the signified meaning would be that, oh, well, nations are having relationships together. It sounds so great and peaceful, because when you think of a nation having a relationship with another nation, when you use these words, it naturally means peace, right? It wouldn't mean hegemony. But then when you put it with a picture like this image does not signify, oh, this nation is having a relationship with that nation. No, it's more like, hello, hegemony. Here we are. We're practicing hegemony over this nation, and that's basically the signified meaning of this image. The next thing it talks about is that we are the greatest nation on earth. And obviously, it is displaying that with this airplane. We're closer to all Earth's inhabitants, it says. So how should we utilize that power that was given to us? Yes, we could utilize that power because we are obviously closer to all Earth's inhabitants, as the article says right here. But when you are that close to all Earth's inhabitants, how should you be utilizing that power? Should you be more giving? Should you donate? Should you be involved in acts of charity? Or when you are given that, when you are exercising that hegemony in the world, should you then be leveraging that power at the expense of weak and oppressed people and murdering them, for example? It also mentions the next point here where it speaks about so we already mentioned that part. The next part here, it says travel above and secure below. So when it says travel above and secure below, what does security mean for both nations, or at least especially represented by these people? So you have the United States military defining their term security, and then you have this man who is in a desert, belonging probably to a weaker country, and then his definition would be of security would actually be the opposite of our definition of security. It would actually mean insecurity, especially if we are going to be exercising our force in a way that is lethal to other people's cultures. The next point and the last point here is discourse. Foucault talks about, the production of knowledge that actually happens through discourse, and how we understand ourselves and our culture And in this particular period, how did we understand ourselves and our culture? So the way this was historicized, at least now it's historicized, people are actually now against war. And the reason why they're against war is because they understood that they saw that the anti-war sentiment that rose as a result is because people were beginning to see the costs that we were having to pay in being involved in these wars, the increasing casualties and the media coverage of it. So because discourse shapes our knowledge, power relations, and social reality, it's really important that we utilize this discourse to bring each to come together. And I believe that this advertisement was not the cause of having this advertisement was not to bring people together. I believe it was just to exercise again hegemony and to kind of show, hey, you know, we are rich enough to purchase these airplanes. Why don't we purchase as many as we can and use those against weak people that are defenseless and can't help themselves? With that, I want to end because we have reached the 6 minutes. Thank you so much for listening and have a great day.